Hey y'all, we're about to get into this review of Huntsville Season 6, Episode 22, titled Not About to Keke and Haha. And if you enjoy this review, make sure you like, share, comment, and subscribe. Now let's get into it. So we're back where they left off of Keke throwing the drinks on Tisha and Marsau telling them to drug test Keke, and her husband is ready to slap some hair on Marsau's head, saying that he was disrespectful, and everybody is trying to hold Keke and her husband back. And Marcelo's like, "Nah, come at me," but he's literally like backing up as he's saying, "Come at me." So, like boy, bye. And Keke, um, and her husband are getting, and as Keke and her husband are getting escorted out, Marcel is smoking a cigar. And in his confessional, Martel says that he feels like the ladies always stay in so much drama, he says, because they say any and everything to anybody, and says that as guys, they just chill and they just be just in the moment. And then production shows a clip from when they turned the Madani parking lot up on some Love and Hip Hop circa 2010 shit for real. Um, and then Keke is like, I'm not dealing with this shit anymore. And she's like, check your husband. And Melody is leaving, or no, not leaving, but just following behind Keke. And she tells Melody that she's sorry that happened at his home, and that's why she keeps people away from her home. And I get it. But then it was just the way she said it. She's like, "I'm sorry, Maurice. That's why I keep people away from my home because I don't like that." Like, goodbye. Anyways, that was my best Melody impression. Give it up, melometers. Thank you. But then in his confessional, Maurice says that Mean should have pulled Keke aside to address the issue beforehand, before they even got to the event, and before he and Kimmy had to step in. And Kimmy's like, "You're 100% right." And Maurice says that he feels that that's the duty of the husband to remove your wife when she's in the wrong. And Kimmy says that it appeared Amin felt like there was a way he should be defending his wife, but you don't defend wrong. And I'm like, I agree to a certain extent, but any of y'all would have wanted your husband to turn that shit up with you too, whether you were in the right or the wrong or not. And yeah, Keke was in the wrong, but he will probably talk to her later about that. But right now, he gonna turn that shit up with her. Fuck you talking about? Like, what do y'all mean? And then as Keke and her husband are leaving, um, she's like, can y'all drug test her, all that, and she's like, oh wait, no, as Keke and her husband are leaving, she's like, they can drug test her all they want, and she knows what she's doing. Like, she knows she's clean, she's straight. And in her confessional, Keke says that she knows she would pass a drug test, but Marceau needs to take a lie detector test. And then Mother Hen, Melody, Holt, and Stormy comes to scold Keke, and she's like, first of all, breathe, girl, like you won 10 million. And then Keke says that Tisha and her and Marceau are both full of shit. And Melody is like, before you do a drink, did anybody touch you or get disrespectful with you? And Keke says, nah. And Melody's like, so then what the fuck was that? She was like, what you throw the drink for? And Keke says that she thinks it was just a reaction. And I kind of get it though, because sometimes you want to have a real Housewives of New Jersey moment and throw a drink on Teresa, but not at the barbecue, honey, not at the cookout. Right? Southern black folk, anyway. They're supposed to be more dignified. Then y'all have a whole episode about being ladylike, right? But then Melody is like, well, did something happen beforehand? And Keke says just all the shit with the rumor and this lady whose name they keep bleeping out, and how Tisha feels that she should have came to her about the situation, and says that she's aware of the fact that she's aware of the fact that Tisha knows about what's going on, basically, but explains how Tisha spoke to her husband and snubbed her and then hug her. And Keke says that she won't let Tisha disrespect her when she won't blame the person that she should, because she went out of her way to get information for her about this shit her husband has started. So I guess in so many words, Keke is like, Tisha owes her for trying to go out her way to get some tea about the shit her husband has started, to bring it back to her before it turns into a wildfire. But I understand also how she's like, well, why you gonna hug my husband and not hug me? No, no, Tisha, because at this point, why hug either of them, right? And I don't know, because any husband would have been like, oh well, you know, don't speak to me if you're not gonna speak to my wife. I got my wife right there too. So, you know, and yeah, Keke and me weren't in the same vicinity when she tried to hug Tisha or whatever, but it's just the point. And Keke didn't exactly go back and telling me what happened. She just popped off. She tossed a drink. She went to go find him. So said call the cops and drug test her, and then they started to run up on him. That was it. There was like 4 different events, and it just yeah. But in her confessional, Melody says that Keke was out of line, because why would she allow Tisha to take her to a place so far, like throwing a drink? You know, it's too much. And then Tisha is telling Kimmy how she was sitting there and she guesses Keke wanted her attention because she started talking about the Marsau and Lady situation. And Kimmy is just looking like, you know, oh, you know, not this shit again, basically. And Marcel is like, well, what she was trying to do was engage in a conversation with her, and she was mad Tisha didn't respond. And um, Marcel, nobody really wants to hear any of that right now because it's your fucking fault. like, like as Tisha and Kimmy are trying to have a conversation about what was going on and how Keke just threw the drink or whatever, Marcel's like, yeah, because Keke is just mad that you won't engage a conversation. It's your fault that they have anything to engage a conversation about. Because you out here allegedly spreading it low and popping it wide on God knows who, with God knows who. And you got your glasses on in the house all guilty and shit. Like, I want to see the guilt in your eyes. And as he's trying to say all this shit, Tisha was just like, get away from me right now. But in her confessional, Kimmy says that whatever this rumor is with Tisha and Marsau, she isn't sure why Keke feels she needs to be involved. And I'm just like, well, it's because it was somebody close to her. And it seems maybe because Tisha asked Keke to fire whoever this lady is. So Kimmy, y'all out of the loop, it seems. They don't come and tell you nothing. Y'all be finding out at the events because the other Scots are a lot more private than y'all be trying to give them credit for. Marsau be out here fucking the game up. But Tisha, they both be like this, but you hear more stuff about him than her. And then Tisha's like, well, Keke leaned up for a hug and she just walked past and said, excuse me. She didn't say anything, Keke. And Kimmy's like, so you never said a word? And Marsau and Jalen are laughing and shit. And Kimmy asks, so was the energy off before? Because Maurice wouldn't have invited them if it was like that. And Marsau says that the energy is off because nobody is believing Kiki's lies, and she thought that she had some info on him. And in her confessional, Tish says that Keke has a history of talking about her marriage, and she's given her too many chances, and she's over it now. She's done. And Marsau says he feels that at the end of the day, Keke feels that she should be living the life Tisha is living. And Tisha is just shaking her head like, here you go, here you go. And Marsau says that they just got to move forward, and Tisha says that she's just got to be done. And Marsau says, yeah, but you're probably not. And Tisha says, yeah, okay. What do you expect her to do? That's her family. Sometimes it's easier to cut family off, though. Easier than y'all really think. I mean, you try to give them chances because they blood related, right? They family, but it's easier to cut them off than y'all think. Not because y'all might argue about little things, it's about boundaries. And if somebody's not respecting a boundary, They just can't be in your vicinity. You know what I'm saying? But then Keke says that she's not putting up with the BS no more, and that she's done. She says she's done, cousin or not, she's done, and she tells Melody and them that she doesn't know how long she's been dealing with that kind of stuff with Tisha, and that it's built up. And Ameen says that he's told Keke to stop dealing with them before, but she doesn't listen. And Melody is like, okay. And then Ameen says that he put up with the whole situation, but when you cross the line, he's ready to put hands on you. And in her confessional, Melody says that she knows what it's like for your emotions to get involved and being on high, but she's not understanding what Tisha did to Keke that day, and says that it has to be more because she couldn't have just not spoken to her and then tossed a drink. Was she trying? Was she trying to be funny? She understands how people be on a high and emotions get involved. Are you trying to be funny, Melody? Good Lord. Hold on. Um, my bad, y'all. I lost my spot. Um, but then Melody asks Tisha if she's good, and she's like, yeah, she's fine. And then Melody tells her that she's sorry all that happened, and Tisha's trying to put up a strong front that says that it's all good. And Marsau is sitting by his lonesome, and Melody comes to see if he's okay. And he says he's good, and Melody says that was a lot, and they try not to move like that. I guess that was too ratchet for her. But then Marsau says that the bad part about it is that it's been going on for years for him, and unfortunately, when stuff comes up about Marsau, people automatically believe it. And Tisha says that Keke is so good at lying, and she's gonna try to convince people that she's fine. And in her confessional, Tisha says that they say no one can hurt you no more than family, and Keke has proven that to be true. And Marsau says Keke won't be in a position to hurt them like that again. And Tisha says that there's nothing worse than a family member that's evil. That word, that calling people evil, that's a lot. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot sometimes. I don't know. And then Marsau says that he understands that because Tisha is living her best life. And then, like I said, I don't know, Tisha's a bit far. Evil's a bit far, but that's her facade of how she has to act or wants Marsau to think she feels about Keke because she keeps looking over for his approval. Like, did I say the right thing, babe? You could just tell that a lot of the stuff that Keke says is not far fetched. Marsau definitely be having Tisha a little mind control because if they really wanted to, they could fix this relationship, but she has his influence. You can see how strong his influence is on her in regards to her situation with her cousin. And we're in a lot of other things. But then Tiffany shows up all late with the baby, and everybody wants to see the baby. But in her confessional, Tiffany says that her plus one has to be the baby because Big Lou is out doing what he does best, coaching baseball. And then all of a sudden, somebody pulls up an alarm in the backyard, beeping a horn, and it's Kimmy's car, and they enjoy it, and they have fun. And Kimmy's like, "Oh, I'm going for a ride. I see you on the day." I know that's right, honey. That's your shit. You been asking for it. He got it. Ain't no waiting for no ride. Do that now. And then the ladies who are there start asking Tisha what happened, with Keke. And Tisha's like, Keke is calling people for information about Marsau, and she asked her about the rumor, and she says Keke lied to her. And the other cousin, Courtney, says that there's been rumors going around, and Tisha says that it's been rumors going around for 5 fucking years. Like, what more can she keep dealing with? And then Tiffany says, yeah, the scariest people are the ones who have nothing to lose. And then Tisha says, yeah, because she worked too hard to make a split decision on somebody who has nothing to lose. My bad. I don't know if y'all hear that. That's somebody on a motorcycle. Good God. Loud as hell. But then Courtney says Keke feels Tisha should check Marsau, and Tisha says, for what? Because if that's the case, Keke and her husband need to check each other. How about that shit? And then Kimmy comes back from her ride. Latisha explains how Keke called her a month ago saying that she got something to tell her. And Tisha's like, well, why not tell me while we're on the phone right now? And Marsau interjects and says that the other part is that they already knew what she wanted to talk about because the dude called them that night and told them. And says that behind her back she was trying to get some mess. And so they saying that Keke was trying to get some mess on them. Now, who is this man? Who is this mysterious man? Because I want to know who this is. Because he's usually it's a woman who's always in the midst, right? But now it's a man in the midst. I like that. It's messy. But then here comes judgmental Tiffany in her confessional saying that it doesn't surprise her to see Keke and Tisha at odds again. It says that it's just real because Marsau is involved to she's like, well, is it real because Marsau was involved to protect his wife, which is weird. And because Tisha says that she's still confused because she's hearing two different sides, and both the Scott says, well, Keke is a liar, so don't try and act like you don't know when you know. And in her confessional, Melody says she thinks over time when it comes to the rumors with Tisha and Marsau, she rolls with what she does because Marsau tells her, and that's okay because that's her husband, and she can do whatever she wants for real and believe whatever she wants, but just don't get mad at them when they don't believe it either. And I'm like, melometers, is that growth? She's not trying to make Tisha divorce Marsau now. After all, is this growth? Y'all let me know. And then the other cousin Courtney is like, well, she's just trying to figure out what happened. And Marsau says that Keke is acting like everybody's lying on her, from the Crime Stoppers to now this. And Tisha just looks so stressed. She's smoking a cigar. Like, I know that's what her and Marsau do because they got a whole cigar lounge, but you rarely see her on camera doing that. It's always him. But in her confessional, Tisha says Keke lied to her, and so there's no benefit of having a relationship with her, and she doesn't want it. And I think what people haven't realized when it comes to Tisha and Marsau's relationship is that they will never admit to y'all what he is doing, because why would they? So y'all can throw it in their face that y'all were right this whole time. Deny, deny, deny. That's what I'm getting. And let's be honest, what would y'all really do if y'all were in Tisha and Marsau's situation? Be real. But then Melody asked Marsau what caused he and Ameen to get into it, and Marsau says because he called Keke a dope head. And Melody's jaws dropped. You see her jaw dropped. Hold me out your way. And Marsau says, well, why do you say that? Oh no, Melody says, oh, why do you say that? Why would you say that? And Marsau says, having a temper doesn't make you throw drinks. Doing drugs does. But says that he didn't lose his temper. And Marsau was laughing with Martell saying, don't be mad at me, be mad at the drugs. And Tisha's and Courtney is like, nah, Marsau, be serious right now. And Marsau says that Keke doesn't care. Keke needs to stop, and he only thinks it was drugs that did it all. And then, do y'all remember when he said, "Oh, she needs to take a drug test"? I'm sorry, I'm just reading off my notes. That's why I might sound robotic. As of yesterday, when I was doing these notes, no, not yesterday, November 4th, 2023, Marsau went on live to take a lie detector test. And I didn't finish the whole 16-minute live or whatever because it's Marsau. He did a lot of this for the first half of it. But yeah, as of this live, but as of the time I did my notes, he has already done the lie detector test. I don't specifically know what the results were because it's Marsau. Because what he was saying was, oh, I didn't want Tisha to do it because I didn't want her to be biased, or the question, and I didn't want it to be somebody else's people because I didn't want it to be biased, and I didn't want to go to this place or let production do it because I didn't want it to be biased. So he did it at his fucking house. But then Courtney says, to bring up the drug situation to Keke, everybody knows she's always been a little extra. And Marsau says that he's been around Keke for 18 years, and something like this has never happened. And he will admit that he was hot-headed and upset when he wanted to make Ameen mad. And Stormy asks, well, why? What do you mean? And Marsau says that women don't understand that when wives get mad, the husbands then have to fight. And Tisha says that, well, Ameen didn't do anything, and she likes him. She likes him so much. And Stormy asks Marsau, so is that what he did to Courtney when he called him Mr. and Mrs. Steele? And she asked Marsau that if Courtney would have told him to stand up, what would he have done? And Marsau says, stand up. And Stormy says, nah, you would have gotten your ass beat. She's so masculine. She's so masculine. She's so comfortable calling this man out his name and then wanting him to fight. Why does it always get to that point? I just don't understand. Like, it's so unnecessary. It's cringe. And then Marsau says that, he would have been willing to get his ass beat, and then maybe again, he wouldn't have gotten his ass beat. And then Stormy says, that's stupid. And I just feel like she's too comfortable questioning his intelligence. And I mean, it's Marsau. He needs his intelligence questioned. But clearly she has no respect for this man. But it's just like she's okay with not hiding it. And I know she's like, oh, I got this big man Courtney behind me. But like Marsau says, when the women do something, it is the husband's responsibility, or they have to then clean the shit up. And not to say that it would have been okay if he did this, but if Marsau would have called Stormy a bitch back, then Courtney wouldn't want to fight. Because it's like, how you call my wife out her name, but your wife started it. And Marsau knew better than to call Stormy the same thing. I'm gonna start shipping these relationships. I'm gonna start shipping their names. Courtney and Stormy. Okay? But Marsau knew that if he would have started calling Stormy a bitch, it would have all hell would have broke loose. So it's like, and then Stormy's like, oh, well, I would have respected it more if you would have told me that. But it's like, no. So you can emasculate him. I don't know how to say it. Even more like, girl, shut the fuck up. And then Martell basically calls Tisha out for not saying anything about the fact that Stormy keeps calling her husband out of his name. And Marcel's like, oh, well, Stormy didn't know because it's a part of her culture, right? And she's like, yes, it's so not uncommon. And Maurice was like, cut the shit for real. Like, cut it out. And Kimmy says Stormy knows that's BS because if Marsau would have called her a bitch, it would have gotten even uglier. And Maurice says, yeah, because Courtney wouldn't have let that shit slide. And again, he shouldn't have had to tell Stormy's grown ass that you shouldn't be calling somebody's husband out his name. Like, no. But then Marsau tells Stormy that going forward, please don't call me a bitch. And Tisha has Stormy if she feels she owes Marsau an apology to, and to brush it off. And Stormy says no. She shakes her head no. She don't owe an apology. And I'm just like, she got a lot of balls. And in her confessional, Stormy says that she would never feel she was out of line for calling Marsau a bitch. And I just feel that's really immature. It's very, very immature. I mean, because maybe if she see the backlash on Twitter and then they get to the reunion and she's like, sorry, Marsau, for calling you a bitch. I feel like she won't even do that. Like, I don't know. But in her confessional, Stormy says that she would never, she would never feel like she was out of line. But then Kimmy and Maurice asked the other cousin and Tisha if they think Keke might really need some help. And then they kind of just throw around the stuff that they've been noticing about Keke, like she's a child, and Marsau keeps throwing jabs. And then Courtney says that it's nothing that they should joke about, and they should address it, and they should not address it in the public, and they should pull that person to the side. And then Marsau says, raise your hand if you had to ride around looking for Keke at 2 or 3 in the morning, staying up for hours talking about what's going on with her. And then Marsau sees their reaction. He says that his reaction is from a lot of hurt and anger because they were the only ones there for her when her mom and her cousins weren't even there for her, or even her husband. And Marsau basically is telling Courtney that, y'all haven't been around the way he and Tisha been around, so shut that shit up. and Keke has been betraying them for some time. And I'm not gonna lie, my soul was preaching because he's like, nobody's got time to be walking on eggshells with Keke. And Stormy Ass is over here crying. And in her confessional, she says it's unfortunate um, that Keke's reaction was met with allegations of her possibly being on drugs. And I'm like, yeah, I see both POVs, but somebody's been pissing. But if somebody's been pissing on your leg and calling it rain, at some point you don't want to hit that piss. You want to hit somebody with that pissy shoe. In so many words. But then Stormy tells the table that Keke is clean and in recovery, and Marsau says, "Cut the bullshit, Stormy. Do you know for sure?" And Marsau asks her if she knows anyone who's ever done drugs, and she's like, "Yeah, her friend who used to live with her, who used to watch her son." And then she starts to cry. And he's like, "All right, Stormy, my bad, my bad. I didn't mean to make you cry." Whole table get quiet. And in her confessional, Stormy says that she's emotional because she can resonate with this situation a lot more than she would think. So it brought her back to her own stuff. And Marsau comes to console her and says, all jokes aside, I'm sorry. I didn't know, I would have never known. And then Stormy gets ready to leave, but she talks to Nell and says that she was talking to Keke about how to help her friend. So she's like, are y'all really sure that she's back on that stuff? And Nell tries to give her some words of encouragement. And Marsau tells the cousin Courtney that he's sorry that Keke doesn't get to act out and embarrass people. And Keke's mad that she got caught in her shit. And then Marsau says that they have been helping her for so long, and in her sober moments, she's stabbing him in the back, and Courtney ain't really trying to hear all of that. And then Tisha tells Courtney that she's upset with Keke because she's been lying to her for over and over and over for years. And in her confessional, Tisha says that she and Keke have had a strained relationship for 10 years. And she only allowed Keke back into her life because certain family members were asking her to, and she thought that Keke had changed, but she's still doing the same shit. And Tisha says she makes it clear that she's not about to hi Keke like they cool, because they just not, and that's just what it is, okay? And then Martell's in the gym, and Courtney shows up, and they talk a little bit. And in his confessional, Martell says that he knows Courtney's personal. He is now Courtney's personal trainer, basically doing the bartering thing Martell and Marsau did earlier in the year with helping him study for the builder's license test and helping Marsau get in shape, right? That's what he's basically doing with Courtney now. Then Martell asked what Stormy told him about the whole barbecue thing with Keke, and how it was a lot, and jokes how Keke had Tisha looking like she just got out the pool. And mind you, Chris is here at this point. And Martell says that Marsau and Ameen almost got into it. And Courtney was like, "Y'all got to tell Marsau to relax because he don't like his energy." It says that he says about calling, he's basically still mad about Marsau calling him Mr. Steele. And Chris is like, "But didn't your wife call him a bitch?" And Courtney says, "Yeah, but didn't he agree?" Like, y'all twisted for real. Like, I don't, there's no justification for her to call him that. None. It would have been different if they was really, really, really getting into it and they got ugly. He called her bitch first, but there's no justification. And then Martell says, "No, it's just certain things that women shouldn't say to a man." And Martell tells Courtney that he should have gotten his wife to chill, basically. And Courtney says, "Nah, she'll be all right." And I'm just glad Martell said something because, knowing the Beasley steals is lost, honey. But in his confessional, Martell says that it was a big dig that Marsau called Courtney Stormy's last name, and he would have been offended as well. And here go Chris saying, "Look at you, you still need to get out this damn house." You ready for him to get out the house. And then apparently Chris and Courtney might be related or something, so they're going to do a little ancestry thing, and that's the end of their scene. And now we're with Keke and her husband are at a storage unit, and basically they're getting some things out of their storage unit yet because they're going to be moving to a different area for their son because it's his senior year in high school, and They want him to have better options for being picked for the sports and stuff like that. And while they doing that, Keke's like, she's not really sure because they do have 2 other kids to think about, this, that, and the third. And then Melody calls and she's like, hey girl, let me pull up on you. She pull up. She basically says, how you doing after all of this shit at the barbecue? Keke says she good, but me and Tisha not talking and we're not going to. We haven't talked and we're not going to. Mel was like, okay, cool, fine. Whatever. Y'all not gonna talk? That's fine. But let me tell you about the shit they were saying after y'all had left. They was joking about you possibly being on drugs. And Kiki's like, oh, for real? That ain't surprising. Ameen is like, for real? That ain't surprising. And Melody is like, yeah. And as a matter of fact, since they keep talking about it, I'm about to drug test right now. Let's do this shit. Let's do this shit. And Kiki's like, and Ameen is like, what do you mean? Let's do a drug test. I don't, like, why would you do that? Why would you bring that here? And Melanie was just like, let's shut this shit down now. Okay, let's cut the rumors because Marsau's always doing this. And somebody need to prove him wrong. Somebody need to shut his ass up. And Ameen is like, you don't need to prove nothing to nobody, right? But they cut it at that. They say, to be continued. My whole thing is leave this shit alone. Like, as much as y'all didn't want Miss Wanda on the show, okay, Keke is just as messy. Y'all gotta leave this shit alone. It's getting to be too much. Because did they do any disclaimers? Oh, if you know anyone suffering with drug use, yada yada, check on them. Did they do any of that? I don't think so. Not that I can recall off the top of my head. And it's just like one of them things where this is just messy family. 2 cousins who just don't get along, who butt heads, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that because that's just what cousins do. But what I need y'all to stop doing is trying to make it seem like Tisha is just so, oh, I just don't want to mess with Keke because Keke is just untrustworthy. Keke is the messy cousin that nobody trusts. They try and help her. And of course, we don't know everything. We only know what production decides to show to us out of the hundreds of hours of filming that they put into these shows. So we understand, we only know these people from what they show us every week. But stop trying to get on Tisha about not wanting to admit to y'all, yeah, this nigga be cheating on me, because guess what? She's still going to stay. She's going to stay. Not because she don't feel like she can do any better. Not because she just don't want to leave that man. It's not that. She's going to stay because they have a lifestyle right now. She's comfortable in this chaos. And she's not going to keep allowing y'all to just be like, keep poking her like, Tisha. You see Marsau? You hear about what he did now? Like, she's over the mess, honey. She's done. But if y'all enjoyed this review, make sure y'all like, share, comment, and subscribe. And I'm going to see y'all on the next review. I'm going to take a little bit of break, and then I'm going to get into the very next one. All right? Bye, y'all.